Hey, I'm Tom from GAMINGbible, and I'm here with Mark, who has played
Tom.
The Last of Us 2.
I am indeed playing The Last of Us 2. Yes.
Yes. So we finally reached the preview embargo, so we can kind of chat about a certain part you've played.
Yeah, so we're allowed to talk about a particular part of the game, which is roughly halfway in. It's about 2 or 3 hours of gameplay. Some of it we've already seen, so there's 2 sections actually that we've already seen of this. The first was the, I think it's E3 2018 gameplay demo, where Ellie is facing off against a group of Seraphites, is one of the gangs. And the newly released State of Play gameplay footage is the tail end of this section that we're allowed to talk about.
Okay, so I didn't realise they were actually connected bits of gameplay.
Well, then connected in the sense that they are within this piece of Seattle. Yeah.
So like one of the things I noticed is it looks stunning. Going on that fact that it looks beautiful, it looks really expansive. Like the worlds look big. Is there a sense of open worldness to it?
So the section that we were allowed to play, it starts off with Ellie outside of a cinema, and she goes down the Interstate 5 is one of the roads that cuts through the middle of Seattle. And on either side of this interstate, there are obviously shops that have been run down, dilapidated, overtaken by nature and greenery and what have you. And you can actually go into each and every one of these shops and look around, and they're all fully kitted out. Like they're all unique as well. Nothing that I've seen has been the same thing twice. And again, none of these things you need to go in. You don't like for this part of the game, you don't have to look around any of this. You could bypass it all if you wanted to. But if you go and explore, you're going to find all of these cool, unique stories and all of this ammunition and crafting materials that you would otherwise just blitz straight past. So one of my favourite things that I found in there was in the Washington Convention Center, I think it was. You have to use one of Ellie's new skills, which we'll get to in a minute, to shimmy up a rope and swing into an open building, which is on the first floor of this convention center that you can't get into otherwise. And just in this one room, there's an entire story that you can piece together of a couple of people that were surviving in here, how their attempts at survival played out. And you don't need to see this story at all. But if you want it, it's there. And I love the fact that they've put in a lot of lore building on what we already knew already from The Last of Us. The Last of Us was already brilliant for background and expanding on, outside of the main storyline. And this just goes above and beyond. These two characters, I kind of felt like I knew them, and I wanted to, go and help them if I could, but we're now 25 years after the outbreak, so their chances aren't good.
Does it feel like there's been a time pass since the first game? Because you mentioned it's been 25 years or so. Like, can you feel that change?
So the world itself, the Seattle streets are significantly more, I would say, overgrown with things like trees and grass, and there's water running through. So another example, one of the parts later on in this section, you fall out of a window and into a running river. I don't know Seattle very well, but I have to assume that river wasn't there before. So you do get this sense that after the space that's taken from the start of the outbreak through The Last of Us into now, there has been an increase in how nature has reclaimed the land.
Kind of like how the sheep came back into Wales during the lockdown.
There are parallels, yes, stunning ones. Scary.
Yeah, well, you mentioned earlier the new abilities, and there's new kind of ways to traverse going around, so you can swing, you can swim, all these things.
Yeah, Ellie can swim now, and
that's amazing.
Any fans from the previous game will remember that Ellie did not like water, and she couldn't swim. She can swim now, and you get washed away, and you can dive underwater and resurface. You can poke around in there, but it's murky water. You can't really see what's under there.
That's fine.
But by far the most interesting new abilities are her ability to, climb up ropes and, swing on them and what have you. But also just in general to climb. So there's a whole level of verticality now that there wasn't before.
So is it quite Uncharted-esque?
I would say that it feels very Uncharted-y. And you can tell that Naughty Dog have learned from their experiences with Uncharted. And how Uncharted 4 was a more open adventure game. It certainly feels like they've tried to imbibe some of The Last of Us 2 with that. But you really shouldn't get carried away with Ellie's ability. She still is very vulnerable if you try and go a little bit too gung-ho. So there's a great example of one time where I was just walking down the street, like there was nothing else going on, like I'd already checked a few of the buildings and they were fine. And I just went and smashed this window with the back of my knife. And then all of a sudden, like 4 or 5 enemies, like clickers and runners, came streaming out of the building at me. And I was like, I have not been paying attention to what I've been doing, and I got a little bit too confident in what my abilities were, and I got overwhelmed really quickly. You can't do that in this game. You've got to really pay attention.
Well, that's kind of a good thing. It means that the world itself is engrossing to a point where you want to explore it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like 100%. I probably could have got through this section a lot quicker, but I spent a lot of time just looking around at things and trying to piece together the world. Like the world building in this is unreal. So as well as Ellie's new abilities, you can upgrade and craft a lot of stuff. So you can still upgrade your weapons on weapons benches, but the only real difference is that it's a lot more clean this time, and visually it's way better. So Ellie will pick up the weapons and look at them and like unchamber bullets and stuff. And then if, let's say, if you were going to upgrade your revolver with some crafting materials that you found, she will like take the barrel off, and she'll replace it with another barrel that she's got out of her backpack, and she'll file it down and clean it all off, so it looks really nice. And it's nothing essential to the game, but the guns in this do look really good.
Yeah, from what I was seeing on the B-roll that we've got, the guns look like Call of Duty level quality detail, like close up. They didn't need to show the gun this close to your face to turn around. They didn't need that, and it looks brilliant, look amazing.
I mean, it looks really great, and it feels really visceral when you kill people. Like it feels, it's meant to feel uncomfortable, I think. I mean, I don't really care. I went around just stabbing everybody in the neck and like letting arrows fly and gunning down whoever.
Even as everyone complained and moaned as they found the dead bodies of the friends and you killed their dogs and cried, you were like, yeah, sure, why not shoot them as well? You didn't even care.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad about killing the dogs, but the dogs they're bad news, man. Like if you see a dog on the field, like you need to get out of there.
Talking about that kind of combat and stuff, there's also the whole dodge and weave melee combat that looks like it's straight out of a cutscene sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah, so Ellie has the ability to dodge out of the way of attacks with the tap of the L1 button. And if you manage to get out of the way quick enough, you can counterattack with tapping square, or if you really want to, you can then line up a shot and shoot whoever's attacked you. But it makes it feel like a proper brawl. Like that's again one of the things that they've lifted from Uncharted, I feel like, is the ability to properly brawl with enemies. And yeah, there's obviously a lot of death that comes from it.
Well, it sounds like an intense experience, and honestly, I can't wait to hear what your full review says about the entire game.
Yeah, full review is available on June 12th, I think. So yeah,
Cool.
Keep an eye out for it.
I genuinely can't wait to see what you actually really, truly think about the game. Thanks a lot, Mark, for talking us through this section, giving us your little sneak preview.
No worries.